Hello and welcome to ExoTIT Academic Services. We're thrilled to have you join us for this webinar, where we'll dive into key academic insights and resources to support your journey in research and publishing. Our primary mission is to help you communicate your research effectively. We offer expert proofreading and editing services to enhance your manuscripts, ensuring clarity, coherence, and adherence to academic standards. Don't miss out to get your free manuscript audit from us, which will help you to find the flaws in your research article. Reach us submit.exotit.com. Thank you for joining the webinar. We look forward to empowering your research journey.
Check. Greetings to all the participants present here. On behalf of Excellent Academic Services, I would like to welcome you all for the webinar on Strategic Journal Selection and Manuscript Preparation. To start with, let me give you a brief introduction about Excellent Academic Services. Excellent purpose is to provide outstanding proofreading and editing. Excellent purpose is to provide outstanding proofreading and editing services that are tailored to each researcher's specific demand. With a commitment to excellence, we have refined our process to assure efficiency, accuracy, and complete client satisfaction. Our team of experienced editors brings the wealth expertise to every project, meticulously refining each document to perfection. ExoEdit enables students, professors, researchers, and authors in improving their written communication. Researchers experience the difference of working with a dedicated team that prioritize their success. Enhance your dissertation with our specialized editing and proofreading services. Now, I'd like to welcome our speaker, Dr. Sunaina Singh, who has done a PhD in plant genetic resources from Indian Agriculture Research Institution. Well, academic copy editing is her mainstay. Dr. Sunaina Singh, also an academic trainer, offering tailored workshop and one-on-one coaching to help researchers enhance their writing skills and successfully publish in top journals. She is curious about the latest development in AI, open science, and peer review. Frequently writing about these topics, various blogs, author service company. Once again, we welcome you, Doctor. You may start the session now.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Very warm welcome to all the participants. It's very heartening to see the people who have joined in large numbers. It's a very, very important topic that we're going to be talking about today. So maybe I'll give a few seconds till a few more people join in before I share my slides.
Dear Doctor,
I would just like to say that...
sorry
yes.
for interrupting. Kindly share your screen, Doctor.
No problem. Okay. Okay. So then I shall start. All right. So the
Doctor,
topic for today's... Yes? Are you able to see my screen? Okay. Should I start or should I wait? I think it's still 1 minute left for 3 p.m.
Doctor, your voice is breaking.
Hello? Are you able to hear me clearly? Is my voice not audible? I hope my voice is audible. My signal here shows that it's full. Just a moment. Okay, voice is audible, but audio is breaking. I'm sorry about that. I hope it improves in a little while.
Yes, doctor, it's audible.
It's audible, it's clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, doctor.
Okay. So once again, I welcome all of you to today's very important session on strategic journal selection and manuscript preparation. I have about 14 to 15 years of experience in this field. So I really hope that you can benefit from this session. We will have a question and answer session after I complete delivering today's lecture. But keep your questions ready. I'll be very happy to address them. So broadly, what I'll be covering today are three essential elements. One is planning your research publication, because that kind of lays the groundwork of what you're going to do later on. Second is selecting a journal. And third will be preparing your manuscript. Now, actually, each of these topics warrants separate sessions, but I will try to make the best use of my time. And preparing your manuscript actually really is a very in-depth subject. So I will just brush upon that. We will be focusing mainly on planning your research publication and strategically selecting your journal. So I feel like a fortune teller because I know what is the question on each of your minds. I don't have to guess. I don't have to gaze into a crystal ball. I know this is what all of you have on your minds, which is why you are attending this session. That is, how can you plan to make your work better so that you can write, submit, and get published? So that's a no-brainer, right? So let's dive into it. Planning your research publication, first of all. So planning your research involves the following steps. How do you go about it? Many of you might have experience with it. Some of you may be new to it, but let's go over it. You start by going through some published papers, which may be online or in your library. Now, most of us tend to search the literature online. There are so many tools for it. You even discuss with your guide, your seniors, your professors in the department, what is the ongoing research in your department, in your institute that you can be a part of. Once you have decided your topic, once your guide is finalized, then you read about that topic in depth. Then you identify what are the gaps in the existing knowledge. And from that, you start building your research question, which is based on these gaps in the knowledge. Your publication plan. Now, it covers so many aspects. It's not just your publication. There are a number of things you need to plan in advance. And if you do this, your success rate goes up and the time till publication also gets shortened. A lot of us are not aware of these. So I would like to explain what all you need to document in your publication plan. Number one is the authors. Who will be the authors? Decide this beforehand. Don't go changing it later on because that can create problems. So all those who meet the appropriate qualifications for authorship, who is the lead author, who will be the corresponding author, all this you must decide beforehand. Data and timing. Your specific data sets, analysis, the timing that will take in collecting your data and analyzing it, have a rough estimate of how long it will take. Journals and other venues. So what are the journals? Where are you going to be presenting your findings? Will you first present the preliminary information at a conference? Which are the intended journals? What are the deadlines? If your thesis is also due for publication, for submission, keep all those timelines in mind and make a kind of a rough calendar what you need to achieve by when. And then status. So if you have already submitted papers or you're planning to keep track of when is your paper, when has it been submitted, when are revisions due, when is it going to be published, any reformatting needed, any resubmission needed. So all your different papers will be at different status levels. Now, publication is a slow process. We need to accept that. So how can you best utilize your time and, kind of speed up the process? you need to follow parallel processing. So don't focus only on one paper at any given time. At any point in time, you must have multiple papers, each at a different stage. Start writing early. So don't wait for your results to be in. You can start with, the introduction. You can start with some of the methods, things that you've already started with, and the information that you have at hand, your literature review. Start with that. Don't wait till the end of your experiments. Now, suppose you have submitted a paper and you haven't heard from the editor for more than a month, then try and inquire. So write an email to the editor, because sometimes what happens is things do slip through the cracks or things get buried under a large number of papers. So try and correspond with the journal editor to make sure it is moving. So if you want to understand from start to finish the scientific method that culminates in a research publication, this is how it goes. You form your research question, which again you need to do your literature search. Then you perform some background research. You generate a hypothesis. You design an experiment. Then you start collecting the data. You analyze your results, draw conclusions, and then finally, the most important is communicating the results. So we can look at it in this way as well. These are the steps, and there are some steps where you need to circle back. So your topic selection, identification of knowledge gap, framing the research question, till there, we're kind of on a particular track. Then framing your research hypothesis, the literature search, the method that you'll follow. Sometimes, depending on how the experiment is going, you may have to circle back and make little tweaks or changes. Finally, once that is finalized, you go with your data collection and analysis, and that's when you can start writing at the earlier stages as well, and which ends in reporting. Now, when we talk about parallel processing, the same thing, you can have multiple papers going through this publication pipeline or flow. So one paper might be at the second draft stage, one paper might be at the revision stage, your third paper, you might be on the first draft, your fourth paper, you might have just started writing the methods. So this is how you can become really efficient, have many papers simultaneously. So now selecting a journal. A mistake that I made when I did my PhD about, 15, maybe almost 20 years ago, was I was not aware that you must select your journal and then start writing your paper. So what happens is, suppose you very ambitiously written a paper, 8,000 word paper, and then you decide I'm going to publish this in journal A. And then you see in the journal instructions that, journal A has a word count limit of just 4,000 words. Now you're going to have to completely reframe and reformat your paper. So which is why it's a good idea to select your journal, or at least shortlist a few journals before you start writing. And why is it important to select the right journal? You don't just randomly choose a journal. It takes a lot of planning and thinking, and what goes into that. Targeting the right journal is often where authors go wrong. I made this mistake, and I really hope you don't repeat those mistakes. We tend to focus a little too much on only the impact factor. There are so many other factors that we need to pay attention to. It is also important for you as an author to understand what happens
you.
after. Yes.
Kindly share the screen in full view, Doctor.
I thought it was in full screen. Is it visible as full screen?
Just give slideshow, Doctor.
It is on slideshow. Okay, wait, let me just try it again. Okay. Now, I've put it on slideshow. I hope it's visible as slideshow right now.
Doctor, in the top of the PPT, there will be slideshow option. You can click there.
It's here at the bottom.
Besides animation, you can see a slideshow option.
Okay.
So there you can
From
click
there.
from beginning. from
No,
beginning.
wait, this is not. Sorry, I don't know. See, when I do it like this, it's not coming as a slideshow.
It's doctor, no problem, doctor. You can continue.
Okay. I hope, it should be visible either way. Okay. Sorry, audience. Sorry for the little interruptions. So this is what happens when we have online sessions. Maybe someday we can do it, face to face in person. It's always better that way. But these little glitches happen. So sorry about that. And I really hope you're able to see all the text, even if it's not in slideshow mode. So as I was saying, we tend to focus a little too much on the impact factor, but there are so many other factors that we need to pay attention to. So we'll be going through all these items one by one. And as I said, it's also very important for you as an author to understand what happens after submission. You submit your journal, your paper, and you feel your job is done. But let's see what happens behind the scenes. First, there is a preliminary check by a desk editor or the journal editor. So what all do they cover in this preliminary check? Aims and scope. So does your paper match the aims and scope of the journal? Is there a proper cover letter? Is it informative? Does it give all the information? And is the paper novel? Is the study, the research in it, is there some novelty to it? If it fails these aspects, it is a desk reject. But still there are few more checks. Detailed screening, does it conform to the guidelines that were given on the website? Is the topic appropriate? Is it appropriate for the journal's readership? Then the content. What is the quality of the research? Is it relevant? And is it even useful? So if all these boxes are ticked, it then goes to peer review. So this is also not the end. This is just a very preliminary cursory check that allows it to then move to the peer review stage, after which also accept or reject may happen. What are the common reasons for manuscript rejection? Some of us have faced it. And for those who haven't, it will happen. It is a part of every researcher's journey. But what we want is to minimize those chances. Common reasons for rejection are your paper is outside the journal scope. Sometimes very high impact factor journals, they are a little too fussy, or your instructions have not been followed. The paper lacks originality or novelty. Similar work has been done before. It is not significant enough, or your study design has got flaws. There may be some ethical issues, and last but not the least, poor writing and organization. So as you know that this session has been organized by ExoEdit, and they talk about how important it is to have your manuscripts edited or checked by professional editors. So it's absolutely fine if you're not comfortable with the language, if you struggle to write a paper, because your job as a researcher is to conduct research and communicate your findings. So if you get little support, it's always a good idea to have your manuscript edited to avoid rejection only for the language purpose. Now, this is the aim of every researcher, to publish in a very, very high impact journal like Nature, Science, and PNAS. But did you know this is not even the rejection after peer review? Rejection without review, the rates are that high. So 78% for Nature, 74% for Science, and 50% for PNAS. This is just a harsh reality that we should be aware of. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but these are the facts. And again, we want to enhance our chances of getting published in these journals. So let's see what are the factors we need to consider when we are choosing a journal. Very, very important is the scope of the journal and the mandate. Now, just from the name, you cannot tell. So visit the journal's website. All the information that you need is there. So I've just shown an example in this red box. You can see under aims and scope, it talks about what all the journal deals with, what other aspects, broad and narrow. So make sure that you go through that and your work corresponds to that mandate. What is the target audience? So some journals will even specify. So as in this journal, Biological Conservation, the audience includes environmentalists, conservationists, botanists. So, this also gives you an idea of who is it that you are targeting. Who do you want your paper to be read by? So again, if you scan the journal, you will find this information very easily. Article type. I'm sure you're aware, besides an original article or a regular paper, there are many kinds of papers. Now suppose you've written a review article. Does your target journal even accept review articles? Because some journals, they invite reviews. You can't just submit just out of the blue. So make sure that the kind of paper you have, maybe it's a case report or it's a letter to the editor, ensure that your paper, that format is published by that journal. So these are certain kinds of article types besides a regular article. There are experimental reports, applied research. These different kind of journals and different kinds of papers will be considered depending on what you choose. Then coming to your paper's applicability. Is it a very general topic? Is it specialized or is it super specialized? So I've given some examples of medical journals. So a general journal would be like cardiovascular disease. Now cardiovascular translational research is a little more specialized. And cardiac anesthesia is probably even more super specialized. So depending on your work and your field, you may even select your journal based on how niche or specialized your work is and that journal is. Similarly, continuing on the topic of applicability, is it of global significance, regional significance, or national significance? So you will have journals that are, of international. There may be for a particular region like Asian or country specific, like Indian Journal of whatever, Canadian Journal of so and so. So if it's only for a population that is, it's relevant to that particular country, then maybe you can select that kind of a journal. Then also you want your paper to be seen by a wider number of readers. So try and check how wide the journal's reaches. How can you get to know? You can see information about article views. How many times has an article in a particular journal been viewed? How many times has it been downloaded? And where in the world are these authors situated? So you know how far-reaching the impact of that journal is. And this is far beyond the impact factor. You can see downloads, views by country level, by, current year, past couple of years. So all this information is there on every journal's website for you to see. So as I keep emphasizing, so look beyond the impact factor. There are also these other factors called alt metrics. And these capture various dimensions of impact. So as I was talking about views, discussions on, science blogs, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media, how many times it's been bookmarked or saved, how many times it's been cited and recommended by certain journals. So these you might have seen in some published articles, this donut-shaped thing. So these different colors mean different things. Where has that article been shared on a news outlet, blog, Wikipedia page, Twitter, Facebook, etc. So this gives a more realistic view of impact. So this can also be a way in which you choose your journal. Another important factor is speed. So many of you may be in a hurry, you need to complete your PhD, you're getting a job, you're due for a promotion, you need a grant. So you want to choose a journal that might help you, get published a little faster. But there is a caveat here. We have to be very careful of predatory journals. I'll be talking about that as well. But let's talk about the journal's turnaround time, first of all. So how can you get to know how fast or slow a journal is? Again, this information will be there on every journal's website. So your homework today is that you target a particular journal and go and find all this information and note it down. So average time for an article to be reviewed, average time from submission to post-review decision, average time from acceptance to publication or online appearance, many journals will specify this. So this is what it will look like. So for one journal, it has actually in weeks, it has indicated over the years how the time has changed for review. Another way is to see, the time taken between volumes. How many months have passed between volumes? So the faster this happens, or the smaller the gap, the faster the chance of publication is slightly higher. Next and most important is, does the journal have any fees or charges? So there are open access journals. Again, there are different channels. In gold open access, you don't have to pay anything, but many other open access journals will have this kind of very high article fees. Now, some of us may be from limited income countries. These journals have some kind of waivers and provisions that you can avail of. You can actually ask for the fees to be reduced or waived. So as you can see, depending on who is funding your research or where your institute is located, depending on which group it is, there may be a very nominal publication fee. And again, you pay this fees only when your paper is accepted. So there is no fee for submission. Please remember that, because predatory journals tend to ask for money only for submission at the time of submission. That is not correct. Only after your paper has been properly accepted will a fees be asked for. Other specifics that will go in helping you select a journal would be acceptance rate. Like remember, I showed you at the beginning, certain journals have a very, very high rejection rate. Review rate, because review takes time. So the time taken by a journal to find a review and then for review to take place, some journals will indicate that. As I mentioned, number of journal issues per year. The higher the number of issues, the faster the turnaround time. Number of papers published per year. Is there a provision for online submission these days? Most journals have that. And then the facility to track the manuscript status. If there is an online tracking system, you will get to know, you will get updates where your paper is in the post-submission journey. Has a reviewer been identified? Review is going on. Reviewer report is awaited, or the review reports are with the editor. Those kind of detailed information, some journals will have trackers. So all these different details that I'm talking about, or who the editor is, impact factor, all those things are available. So I'm just in this white circle, as you can see. It's a good idea to check up who the editor is, find out their background, etc. Where all is your journal indexed? So the wider the reach in the number of databases it is indexed in, it's it's better for you. It creates more visibility. So again, see, this shows that this particular journal is indexed in all these databases. Some other considerations is you can take advantage of special issues, especially if your work is very, very niche and there's a special issue that's coming out very, very topical to your work. Make sure that you take advantage of it. Sometimes the journal instructions or the mandate or scope is not very clear, or you want to make an exception. You want to publish in a particular journal, but you're not sure. You can consider something called a pre-submission inquiry. So even before submission, write to the journal editor with a very brief synopsis of your paper, requesting that can your paper be considered, and then you go ahead with the submission. So you'll talk about what the paper is about, what is new, why is it important, and why is it a good match for your journal. Sometimes the editor will reply, sometimes they won't. At the same time, a reply does not mean that your paper will be accepted. It's not even guaranteed that it will be reviewed, but at least they will entertain the submission. So now there are so many tools available that makes your search easier. So all those factors that I talked about, when you search for a journal in these databases or with these tools, you can then narrow down based on those 7 or 8 factors that I talked about. So these are some examples. Some of you may have used these. In case you haven't, I would urge you to try these out. Most of them are free, except Web of Science. Most of them are free. Web of Science, maybe your institute has access. So this is what they look like. So this is Jane, journal author name estimator. So what you can do is you can create an abstract of your paper and paste it over there, or your title. Paste it there, or you can even search by keywords. And then once you click on it, you will get a list of options of journals from which you can select. So this is one way to do it. Then, of course, only for open access journals, there is DOAJ. You can search by journals, you can search by articles. You just key in your some keywords, then you select the fields that are relevant. It's all very, very user-friendly and simple. So try it out. So Clarivate's Web of Science, I think this is not free, but again, check your institute's policy. Maybe they have access. So this has all the journals that are indexed in this particular database. You can again search by, you can upload a snippet of your manuscript or keywords or title, etc. Then different publishers also have their tools. So Taylor and Francis has something known as Journal Suggester. So you can paste your abstract, or and then when you click on Reveal Suggested Journals, it will provide a list. And in fact, not just that, it will even provide a description with a comparison of citation and speed metrics, which we spoke about. So that just makes it more streamlined for you. Elsevier's Journal Finder, similar to the Taylor and Francis. As I said, most publishers have their own search engines for journals. So you can match it by your abstract or by keywords, etc. So see, as you can see, maximum 5,000 characters of your paper you can paste there, and it will, crawl their database and be able to pull out this list. Researcher Life by Cactus, they have something known as Global Journal Database. So this includes journals that are indexed in Web of Science and DOAJ and Scopus. So, it has a broad coverage. So all that is very well, but then some of us fall prey to these predatory or fake journals. And what happens is, again, some of us are in a hurry to publish, or, we are in some situation that warrants quick publication. So when somebody comes along, it seems like they are an angel, when actually they are the devil. They will promise publication. They will guarantee publication. Remember that any authentic journal will never guarantee publication. Then some journals will say, we have no peer review, or we have very, very quick peer review in 2 days. Your paper will be published in 2 days or 1 week. That is highly unrealistic. That is impossible. They will charge a high fee. The fee may not be as high as open access journals, but it will be sort of affordable. So you may fall into that trap. Okay, this I can manage. They will publish anything quickly. Their editorial board may be fake, or maybe they impersonate actual editors. And if you go to their website or you try to trace the editorial board, it's hard to find. So there's quite a high number of such journals. There are about 12,000 such journals, mostly from low-income countries. Many of them are from Asia, Africa, a large percentage from India. And unfortunately, a lot of authors who get trapped are also Indian. So it's a business practice where authors are charged processing fees, but they don't receive those services, of editorial and publishing services. For example, peer review, which is very, very important. So, you may have got these kind of very suspicious emails, maybe in your spam folder, maybe directly in your inbox. No good journal will ever approach you directly like this, unless you are a very, very, very senior author. But as you got these snippets, I have actually received in my email as well. Let's combine both your and our persistent effort. And, these kind of very flowery language, poor language. This does not mean that this journal is worth trusting. Again, this is an example. This is what a predatory journal's website would look like. First of all, their mandate or scope is very broad. International Journal of Creative Research Thoughts, and they accept like all kinds of, computer science, finance, biology, genetics, anything. That is not possible. You see the website is very cluttered. You see WhatsApp. If you go to Nature or PNAS or any of these other journals, will you ever find a WhatsApp number for contact? Never. And unnecessarily, it gives fake impact factor. And if you look very, very carefully, the language used on the website is also very poor. So these are some warning signs. There's another way. There's something known as think, check, submit. So that has like a 20-point list. And if it, your answer to all those points is, more than no than yes, then that journal is definitely predatory. So please beware and keep yourself safe from predatory journals, because if your paper gets published in such a journal, they don't retract it, and then that paper is lost in that. You can't, duplicate, submit it in another good journal. So very quickly, preparing your manuscript. Again, this is a very, very broad topic because there's so much to cover in how to prepare your manuscript. But I will give you like a very, very brief overview on the main points that you should not skip when you are preparing your manuscript. So you have now, at this point, let us assume that you have selected your journal, right? Now, this is actually going back a little further behind the publication cycle. I wanted to talk about a lot of people who approach me for training and coaching say they struggle with writer's block or lack of motivation to write or distractions. I'm sure all of you also resonate with that. It is very important to make writing a daily habit. Not just writing, but also reading. And by reading, I mean not necessarily only research papers, but if English is not your strong forte, then read different, read fiction, read non-fiction, read the newspaper, read good quality blogs. But reading and writing go hand in hand, and you have to make this a daily practice. So to cope with writer's block, lack of motivation to write or distractions, read a mix of research-related literature, light reading. When I talk about writing, it could be research-related. It could be just, writing your daily diary. A lot of people now are into this. There's a new fad for journaling. So journal, not the journal we've been talking about, but basically writing your diary. Or you can start a blog, just somewhere. It can be private or public, but where you are exercising that kind of your writing muscle. So just like you train in the gym, like that, train your mind to, become more of a writer. And okay, this is a strange tip, but I think it's very, very important in today's, world of sedentary living. And again, research is such a field where you get bogged down. So physical activity is very important. Walking is considered a type of productive meditation. So, if you're ever feeling blocked when it comes to your research or writing or your experiment, just take a walk or go for a jog. And sometimes when you're in that zone, ideas may come to you. And also my, heartfelt advice to young researchers not to ignore sleep. It really helps not just with stress management and, feeling physically better, but it also helps with better recall, reinforcing concepts. And if you're building the skill of reading and writing, that sleep, again, just reinforces everything. So just change up your routine and try to incorporate these aspects. So what is deep work? It is focusing without any distraction on a cognitively demanding task. So when you need to do some very, very deep thinking, recently there was an article published about how researchers these days are not spending enough time deep thinking. We have so many distractions now. Everything is so shallow. You sit down to think, and in 10 minutes, your hand goes towards your phone. Or, you open another tab and you open your social media. So you need to, block your time, have a fixed schedule, and try to, unplug from the internet now and again when you have some very deep thinking or writing to do. Write a little every day. So if you're stuck in the introduction, then move to another section. If you're struggling with that section, go to another another section. But every day, if you can write even 1 or 2 lines, that sense of achievement will help. And for any important concepts, experiment with different study methods. So when you're writing your literature review, you are faced with so much information. And how do you remember that? How do you try to condense all that? So try active recall. So this is a method where suppose you come across a paper that's very, very relevant to you. Try to imagine that you are teaching it to someone. So like when we, back in school and college, when we were studying, this is what we also did, right? You try and teach it and then you are able to understand it. So do that with the research papers that you read. So try different approaches, whatever works for you. Planning. So there are various researchers on social media, they share their tips. There are these academic influencers, just like we have, lifestyle influencers. There's no dearth of academic influencers. So even they share their tips for how they go about planning their work. So one is granular planning. Break down major tasks into smaller ones, reschedule them throughout the week or month. Then there is a rule of 3. Now this can be rule of 2, rule of 4, whatever works for you. List 3 things. Yes?
Sorry for interrupting, doctor.
Sure.
Kindly moving your slides, doctor.
You're not able to see them moving?
We can see, but you can move the slides, doctor.
Move the slides. I didn't understand.
Slides are not changing, doctor.
Oh, they're not changing. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes, doctor.
Ah.
It's in 14th slide, doctor.
It's on 40.
14th slide, doctor. 1-4.
14th?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
You didn't see all those slides after that. You haven't seen all these slides. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'll just quickly maybe have a look at these slides. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't realize. Okay, so maybe I'll just quickly go through. When we go back to journal selection, this is where I was talking about journals that have a very high rejection rate, Nature,
Sir,
Science, and PNAS. Now are the slides changing?
Doctor,
Yes?
kindly share your screen, doctor.
Oh, I thought I'd shared it. It is on share. Wait, I can't.
It's not visible, doctor. Kindly share your screen.
It is. Okay.
Oh no, now it's visible, doctor.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I think we were somewhere here. So very quickly, I'll breeze through the slides because I hope you were listening to what I was saying. So here's where most of us like to publish, but these journals have a very high rejection rate. So considering, okay, we spoke about 7 points when you choose your journal. Mandate and scope, as you can see this red box, that's where, every journal will have this information on their website.
Doctor, sorry for interrupting.
Also,
the slide is not visible, doctor. Kindly share this in full view, doctor.
I keep doing it, but I don't know. Is my screen visible?
Yes, doctor.
Can you see me? Are the slides changing? And can you?
Yes, doctor. It's
you see them changing? Okay.
No, doctor. It's not changing.
Not changing.
Doctor, kindly open the specific slide, doctor.
Okay. So suppose I'm on this slide now. It's not changing now?
No, doctor, it's still stuck on that.
I don't know, because it says stop sharing. So it means it is getting shared. And then the slide transition from here, it's happening. Is this okay? Should I
Wait, yes, doctor.
keep it in this mode? I'll keep it in this mode?
Yes, doctor, you can.
Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry everybody, and thank you for your patience. So very quickly, we spoke about article type, papers applicability, generalized, specialized, super specialized, global, regional, national, how far or wide your journal's reach is, number of views, downloads, etc. Alt metrics. I spoke about these different colors on the donut. I didn't even know it was not visible to you all. But yes, I'm sure you must have seen this kind of donut, which talks about how many times a paper is cited in the news or blogs or Twitter, etc. If you need to publish a journal quickly, these speed metrics are visible on your different journals' websites. How many issues, how many volumes. Yes, we spoke about fees and charges for open access journals. You can even apply for a waiver, and other parameters to consider: acceptance rate, review rate, number of journal issues, etc. Ability to track the manuscript status, where all a journal is indexed, the different databases. Take advantage of special issues, consider a pre-submission inquiry, and the different journal selection tools. So these are important slides. So there's Jane, journal author name estimator. So here in this box, you can paste your title or abstract. DOAJ, again, you can search by article type, fields, etc. Clarivate's Web of Science, you can upload your manuscript or abstract or a section of the text. Taylor and Francis has a journal suggester. So different publishers have their own tools. Elsevier has Journal Finder. Cactus has Researcher Lives Global Journal Database. And we spoke about predatory journals. So actually, this page I wanted to show you, right? I showed you. So it has WhatsApp number. It has too much information, very, very cluttered website with a very strange name like Journal of Creative Research Thoughts. They will solicit publishing with them with these very strange emails with very flowery language. So avoid those. Preparing a manuscript, we spoke about, actually these slides doesn't matter. I spoke about coping with writer's block, distraction, lack of motivation. Okay, write a little every day. Granular planning, rule of 3, 4, or whatever. List 3 or 4 things you need to accomplish every day. They can be very small. So it could be, each paper revision can be, 3 components you want to cover, 3 questions you want to cover. Then there's a 2-2-2 rule. Have 2 manuscripts in preparation, 2 under review, 2 in press. This is very ambitious, but let's aim for that. Okay. So talking about academic writing, you want to write better. There is something known as style, elements of style in academic writing. So I would recommend, at least this is a very thin, small book by Strunk and White called The Elements of Style. Very, very thin book. Every researcher must go through it if you want to write. And I'm not talking about grammar and language, but academic writing style. What is different about academic writing and, say, a novel? Academic writing is more formal. Informal writing is not always understood in the same way by every reader. It is also structured. There's a certain structure that every research paper follows for complex ideas to produce a clear statement. It is precise and it is appropriate. Some other elements of style in academic writing to pay attention to: it is always better to use the active voice. So it's a myth that, it sounds more formal to use the passive voice. So if you see here, DNA extraction was performed, it's better to say we extracted DNA. You're using the first person, you're using the active voice. Be definite, don't be vague. So use strong verbs. So not very often, you can say usually or typically. A certain amount of precipitation. Don't say certain amount, specify the exact amount, 110 millimeters. Omit needless words due to the fact that this entire phrase of 5 words can be replaced by because. And try and vary sentence length. Otherwise, it becomes very monotonous. So this is a very nice piece of writing by Gary Provost on varying sentence length. So if you see in the first paragraph, each sentence has 5 words. And if you read it aloud, it sounds very, very monotonous. But try and vary. Like some sentences can have 3 words, 4 words. Again, 3 or 2 words is very rare in scientific writing. It may be in social sciences. But try and vary. And short sentences, overall, don't make very, very long sentences. They should be within 20 words or so. Some more elements when it comes to academic writing. Be mindful of misused expressions and malapropisms. So there are these very common errors. They're so common that everybody starts making them. For example, we say, this comprised of that. So comprise does not take the preposition of. So something comprises something. You don't use of. Considered as, we don't really need the preposition as. Another important tip is to write in a way that comes naturally. Use your own voice. Don't try and copy paste sentences from published papers. Try and understand it and then write it in your own words. Trust me, it takes time, but that is always more effective than simple copy paste and then trying to paraphrase it. Ensure parallelism in structure. So if you see all these verb forms in the first, they're all different. So transcription, translation, and modifying. That is not parallel. Transcription, translation, and modification. So all have been, these verbs have been, they are all been converted into nouns. So they all, in a list, they sound similar. So this is called parallelism. Other elements in academic writing, always use clear headings, transitions, logical flow. Back your claims with and sources. Use clear, concise, and compelling language. And all this comes with practice. In one session, you cannot learn this. Read more and more good academic papers, and you'll understand what I'm meaning by all these headings, transitions, logical flow. Now, the 4 main questions that your paper should answer are: why did you do it? How did you do it? What did you do? And what does it mean? And the answers to these questions are addressed in your introduction, methods, results, and discussion, respectively. Why, how, what, and what does it mean? So when you write your manuscript, this is the flow to follow. You start with your figures and tables and methods, because this is what you have at hand. Then you write your results, discussion, introduction, and then abstract title and keywords comes last. This is when you're actually writing the paper. But the published structure looks like this. There's the abstract and IMRAD. That's introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Some journals will have the methods right at the end. That will depend on the field of study. When you structure your paper, remember the CCC, or context, content, conclusion scheme. So it's almost like a burger. Your content is sandwiched between your context and conclusion. In each paragraph, the first sentence, and this is not just in your paper, but even in each paragraph, the first sentence defines the context, the body contains the new idea, and the final sentence has a conclusion. For the whole paper, the introduction sets the context, the results are the content, and discussion brings home the conclusion. Topic sentences. A topic sentence is the most important sentence in the paragraph. It's usually the first sentence. It helps organize the paragraph by summarizing the information in the paragraph. So these are different paragraphs, and each sentence kind of gives a little brief introduction to what is coming in the rest of the paragraph. It's also very important to maintain a good flow. So how to connect sentences seamlessly. Use appropriate connectors and introductory words or phrases which propels the argument forward. things like along similar lines, therefore, however. So that kind of cuts away the abruptness between sentences. So preparing the submission package. Now we spoke about journal selection at length, and we talked about how so much information is there in the journal's webpage. Now we want to make sure that our submission package is kind of ticks all the boxes. So what all is there in your submission package? There's the cover letter, which is separate. Then your manuscript will have a title page with title, authors, affiliations, contact details, abstract and keywords. Then your main text, which will be your IMRAD, tables and figures. And then some journals have these optional items like highlights, graphical abstract, supplementary material, maybe supplementary video, etc. Now, where do you see these author instructions? Don't only look at published papers. Go to the journal's homepage and see preparing for online submission. You will see author guidelines or information for authors. So make sure you click on that. It may be in the form of a PDF or it may be on the web page itself. So when you're preparing the submission package, make sure you have an engaging cover letter that is concise and clear, a captivating title, a standalone abstract, standalone figures and tables. So by that I mean there should be no undefined abbreviations, and someone should be able to understand what's in the figure or the table separate from the paper. Clear and detailed methods, appropriate use of language, no typos or grammatical errors. Cover letter. This is something that a lot of us neglect, so don't ignore it. It should have your the title of the paper, corresponding author details, short summary, keywords that highlight the match. How is this paper going to add to this particular journal? Why are you submitting it? Any declarations for conflict of interest, ethics, etc. And you have to mention that your manuscript is original, unpublished, and not being considered by any other journal at the same time. So this is just a template of the cover letter. So you have your date and the editor name and address. And I'll actually share an example here. You don't have to read it, but just what I'm trying to see, just the outline. Okay, you have the date, the editor details, your name of the journal, type of article, article title, background, novelty, etc., summary of the paper, and you end it with your corresponding author details. It's always a good practice to suggest potential editors and reviewers. In fact, some journals require this. It just makes the search for reviewers easy. Remember that every journal is different. The preparation of the submission package will differ. So suppose your paper has got rejected and now you have to prepare your paper for a new journal. You will have to probably completely reformat it. Study each journal instructions carefully. Make sure that everything meets those specifications. So find, read, and follow those instructions like spacing, font size, word limit, formatting of references, any guidelines for figures and tables, etc. So always tailor the paper and materials to fit the new journal. I had spoken about tracking your submission, right? So most journals have an online tracker. You sign into the journal submission website and you can actually see the status. So is it awaiting reviewer assignment, awaiting reviewer score, awaiting editor recommendation? So you can actually in real time know where in the publication journey your submission is. If it's taking too long or it's stuck at one step, you can email the editorial office as well. I thought in today's day and age, it is very, very important to also talk about AI and the responsible use of AI when preparing your manuscript. So a lot of us are experimenting with it. Some of us are doing it right. Some of us are not doing it right. So very quickly, I would like to talk about this. It's a topic I'm very, very interested in. So always remember that AI models can make mistakes and hallucinate facts. So if you are using these tools, always verify the output. It is not a Google. It is just, it generates text that sounds very believable. You need to verify it. So remember, don't use AI tools to generate references. So, your chat GPT, etc., will make up references. It will hallucinate and give you totally fake references. So there are actual proper tools like Mendeley's or Tero et al., which will help you organize your references, but don't use AI tools. There is actually a case where a US lawyer used ChatGPT to research a legal brief, and it created a lot of confusion, and he was even disbarred. Now, if you are using AI generated content in your paper, you need to disclose it and cite it properly. So treat it like any other source. So if you see now, journals have instructions about this. Most academic publishers agree that AI software like ChatGPT cannot be listed as an author. They have not banned its use, but they have released guidelines on how to use it. For example, this is just an example. So Springer Nature permits the use of such tools as long as full details are disclosed in the manuscript. So in your methods or in your acknowledgement section, you have to disclose that I used ChatGPT at this particular step, to paraphrase my text or to build an outline for my paper. But that's always a good practice. So AI should augment your research and writing and not substitute your own critical thinking. So you can use it to get ideas, but review the output and rewrite it in your own voice. So carefully structure your queries. Don't ask general queries, something that can be done by internet search. Don't use ChatGPT for that. It is not a human, it is not sentient. So it's just simply processing and generating text. So a good practice is you can use AI to edit or structure original content, but don't use it to write a chapter or a paragraph. Where available, use AI tools that are specific for researchers. So, this is just an example of generic tools will not make unnecessary changes. So like there are these kind of proteins like mitogen activated protein kinase or kinase. So these tools will automatically delete that extra kinase when actually it is correct, or it will change the spelling. So try, and when possible, if there are AI tools that are specific to researchers, you may use those. Some other tips is don't use AI to bypass learning or generate entire text. Use it ethically within your institution's guidelines. So suppose your institution doesn't even allow the use of such tools, then you should not. Be cautious about inputting any confidential or proprietary research into these public tools. AI tools are, they can be biased, and ensure that you have the right to use AI generated content in your work. So check with your supervisor, with your institute. If you're working in a team and if you have used AI, you must disclose it to the rest of your team and stay informed about all these, whatever current new movements in this aspect of AI and best practices. So to summarize this session, I'm really sorry about the slides. I really don't know why they didn't move forward, but I hope this in a nutshell, talking about planning your research publication, start with your literature review, document your publication plan, follow parallel processing, have numerous papers being processed, start writing early and follow a scientific method. Coming to journal selection, consider the mandate and scope, identify the target audience, choose the appropriate article type, check journal metrics, review the turnaround time, fees, and beware of predatory journals. Prepare your manuscript, follow a proper academic writing style, structure your paper logically, create an effective cover letter, follow journal guidelines, track the submission status, and use AI tools responsibly. So that brings me to the end of the session. We are open to questions now. I'll maybe stop sharing. If you want to go back to any slide, please let me know. I'll share my screen then. So I think some questions are, I'm seeing the chat only now, and I can see that many of you have said that slides are not moving. I was not able to see the chat at that point. Okay, let me see any questions in the chat. Catherine, if there are any questions, you can let me know. You can type in your questions, if any. I don't see any questions. Maybe a recording will be shared with you, or maybe a PDF of the slides can be shared. I really, really apologize. Okay, there's one question over here. How to summarize a research paper? How much AI content is allowed in the journal? Great questions. Okay, so how to summarize a research paper? I assume you mean somebody else's paper, or you're talking about your own paper? This is by Pooja Rani. If you want to summarize somebody else's research paper, so it's a good idea that you read the entire thing. So first you read the abstract of the published paper and you will get some understanding. Then, depending on which aspect you want to focus on, are you wanting to focus on the methods? Is that interesting to you, or the discussion? You tackle each section individually and then again go through the paper as a whole. And I would recommend what you could do is set the paper aside and then try and recall whatever you understood from the paper and write it down, and then try and summarize. Now, there are actually AI tools that will summarize a research paper for you. I am not in favor of that, because that is going to make you lose your skill to summarize. So don't rely on these tools to summarize for you, but try and do it yourself. Maybe resort to those tools when you are short on time, but try and use your own critical thinking, use your own language to summarize a paper. If you're talking about your own research paper, so you've written your entire paper and now you want to write a summary or an abstract, one way to go about it is, again, go section by section. What about, the introduction or background? If you want to condense it into 2 lines, how can you do that? Write that down. Your methods, like a broad overview, if you had to explain it to, say, a child or a teenager, how would you, just in 2 lines, how would you do it? So read it, reread it, and then condense it in 2 lines. So like that, for each section of your paper, collect those different sentences that summarize each section and then put them together and then try and bring it together. There are different approaches. Different people follow different approaches. You may want to look at the paper as a whole and create a summary, or you may want to break it down. So you could try out these different techniques. Okay, Naval Kishore Sepat is asking how much AI content is allowed in a journal. So the thing is that there are AI detection tools and they are not accurate. This is acknowledged by all people, because AI detection tools fail because the text is trying to be human. So sometimes you may write a paper yourself, you may write a text yourself, but the AI similarity comes very high. It will say 60% chance that this was AI generated. But now a lot of journals are acknowledging that those tools are not really reliable. So actually there is no real way. Only you know how much AI you have used and how much your own writing you have used. So there is no number as such. I would say minimize the AI generated text. Use AI for generating an outline. You want subheadings, headings, you want to kind of organize your text. Use it for that. But the text generation should be human entirely, as per me. Recently, one paper has come out by somebody called Leonard Knack, in which he's talked about how reviewers should address AI-generated content. But I would just like to reiterate that use it for outlines, background, skeletal drafts, but try to do it yourself, write it yourself. There is no correct number as such, a percentage. Unlike, say, a similarity index, right? When we copy or paraphrase text, there's a fixed number for a similarity index. It should not be above 15%. It should not be above 30%. But with AI-generated content, it is still very, very fluid and dynamic. I hope that answers your question, Naval. Great to see you here after IARI days. Did I answer your question, Pooja and Naval, and any other questions? Okay, so can you share the slide as a PDF? Definitely, definitely. I'm sure we can. I think Catherine will ensure that. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, can I share my question here? Yes, please do. Hamad, how legal using AI in a research paper? So it is not illegal, but you should check with your institution if there are any rules around it. It's still quite new, and a lot of institutes and universities are coming to terms with how to deal with it. So it's always a good idea to check what the university's policy is. I would say safely it is not illegal to use it, but you should not use it to generate entire blocks of text. Okay. Someone has said interpretation of ChatGPT on participants' idea, qualitative study. Can we take it as AI generated? If that interpretation is by ChatGPT, of course it is AI generated. What you can do is you read that interpretation and maybe that helps you understand, and then try and write it in your own words. But that would still be considered, I mean, depending on how much of that input is there, it's always a good idea to disclose that you use ChatGPT at the data interpretation stage. So, and again, I would say don't only rely on ChatGPT. There are other tools, like you could try Claude, you could try PaperPal. So try different tools, and sometimes what happens is they give different outputs. So that's also an interesting exercise to see how different tools have dealt with the same amount of same information. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Pooja is from BHU. Yes, glad to see you. Yes, your name was looking familiar. I wasn't very sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice to see repeat people, in my sessions. Any questions? We still have like a good 20 minutes or so. And you can reach out to me through email or social media. Okay, I can see 2 raised hands. Okay, but I think your answers, the questions have been answered. If not, please go ahead. Email the slides and video recording. So yes, so all that I'm hoping Catherine will take care of. What are the visible characters of real and fake journal, such as indexing, reviewing, and more? Oh, great question. I'm glad somebody asked this. So the visible characters are, as I said, the website itself. First of all, is suppose they have emailed you, the email language will be very, very unusual and informal. The journal's website will be very, very cluttered with too much information. It's like they're advertising. We have such high impact factor. We are there in the UGC care list. Trust me, high impact journal does not bother about whether a journal is in the UGC care list or not. So these unnecessary information, when it's provided, that is that's a red flag. Then, as I said, it gives a WhatsApp number. Please contact on WhatsApp. That is a red flag. Then it will say something like publication in 7 days, publication in 2 days, quick peer review. These are also total red flags. Then I would recommend on the website, there will be links. If you click on a link and nothing opens, okay, they are dead links. That also means it's a predatory journal. Go to the editor's email. If the email address is something like drrobert@gmail.com, again, that is a red flag because it's not an institutional email. That also should raise suspicions. And with time and practice, and also, as I said, go to the think, check, submit. I'll just type it over here. Think, check, submit. So you go to their website, they have a list of what all you should look for in a journal. So that will also give you an idea. Thank you, Pooja, for your wonderful feedback. I'm so glad. Okay, we have a question. Why journals reject papers because of plagiarism? Why not replay to modify? See, plagiarism is it's unethical. So if a paper is rejected because of plagiarism, that is a valid reason. I didn't understand what you meant by why not replay to modify. I guess you mean, paraphrasing. So while you can paraphrase text, again, now there are tools that can paraphrase, but that is not a sign of a good researcher. You need to be able to understand something and write it in your own words. And by that, I don't mean your language has to be fantastic. You have to have that understanding, write it in your own words, not using somebody else's language. And then maybe you can have your paper edited if you're not confident of the language. But a paper will be rejected because of plagiarism if the similarity index is 30% or higher. That means that a lot of chunks of text have been copy pasted from published papers. So, Safa, I hope that answers your question, or if I didn't understand your question, let me know. Did that help, Safa? Okay. So that's what I've noticed, that most questions come, regarding plagiarism and similarity. And very soon it's going to be all about AI, how much AI use is ethical or not. So these are ever evolving situations. And it's a good idea to follow people, on LinkedIn or Twitter who, academics who deal with these topics, because the rules keep changing. Just as soon as ChatGPT came about, somebody used it as a co-author. And only later on, people realized that that was wrong. So this is a dynamic space. Things will keep changing. But at the heart of it, we are all human researchers. We don't want to lose that inherent human critical thinking skills. So I urge all of you to not just rely on these tools, because they do make you lazy. I'll be honest, sometimes, when I have to write, I end up using them, ChatGPT, complete the sentence for me. But then I realize it is making me lazy. It is making me not want to think and use my own skills. So don't fall into that trap. Any other question? Let me see. So we had a good number of participants despite all the technical glitches. I'm so glad to see that. But yeah, we still have about 10 minutes. Please hit me up with questions, or if anybody wants to share any experience they had. I can see 3 raised hands, but I think your answers, your questions have been answered. You can provide your honest feedback. Any other, a question could be not related to today's topic, but any other topic, or maybe in future, if there is something that you want to understand more about, maybe we can organize more such webinars on, it could be exclusively on AI or on manuscript writing. Pooja has attended some of my sessions, so she'd know. And if there's anything that you feel would benefit you as a researcher, I'm very glad to help you with that. Any more questions or anything?
If there is any questions from participant side, you may ask now.
Yes, we have a good 10-15 minutes. I'll just go through the chat again in case I missed anything. You can type it in the chat how to summarize. Covered that. Oh, if there's any particular slide you want me to go back, I can try sharing my slides again, but I think they will be shared with you. Is that right, Catherine? They will get a PDF or something of the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great, yeah. I hope I answered your question about the interpretation part. It was a very interesting question. But yeah. Okay, we have another question. I'm a student second in Department of Development Studies and a researcher. How can I begin if you give me some suggestion for you? You mean begin to write a paper or begin to do your research? So you want to be a researcher. That's great to see such enthusiasm, Sipat. So maybe I'll go back to the slides about the planning stage. Let me see. I'll just share my screen anyway because you all missed a lot of the slides. I don't know if it will be visible now, but somebody please tell me that I can't see the chat right now. But so basically when you start by going through published papers. Like what is the topic that really interests you? So you may need to do a lot of reading, have discussions with your seniors, with your peers. And once you decide on that topic, then go more into depth and, keep reading more and more about it. And then maybe that question will come to you. What is it that is lacking? What is it? Where can I fill a gap? Where can I make a difference? And given that you are so enthusiastic about staying in research, this is something that you probably automatically attract that question. It'll come to you that what is it that I need to deal with. So that is one way to go about it. And this is the scientific method basically. So you start with that information gap, knowledge gap, then you create a question, then you keep doing your literature search, then you generate a hypothesis, you design your experiment, collect the data, analyze, conclude, and write. And this is an iteration. This is what you'll keep doing throughout your journey as a researcher. You will have multiple of this step that I like to show in my slides. Starting from selecting the topic up to reporting, you will have multiple publication lines like this. And reporting may not only be in a paper. You will attend conferences. You should, your preliminary findings, share them at conferences. Attend as many conferences as you can. As a student, you will have, funds for travel. Try and attend these international conferences. Again, like predatory journals, there are even fake or predatory conferences. So the same things that apply to predatory journals apply to fake conferences. So always check the venue, check the organizer, and who are the organizers. Go to their emails and see whether it's all legit. But at a very early stage, it's very important to network, reach out, and don't only stay in your little bubble. Go out and attend conferences and share your work. So I hope that answers your question, Siddharth. Which strategies can be employed for manuscript preparation? Means better visualization. Okay, so again, visualization is a topic by itself. I have I've conducted webinars on that as well. So by visualization, one is, of course, you have whatever figures and tables that accompany your paper. Then a lot of journals ask for what is known as a graphical abstract. And sometimes it's mandatory, sometimes it's optional. But be sure that, where possible, provide a graphical abstract. So what is that? That's a snapshot of your study in one image. And it doesn't have to be a figure that that's already accompanying a manuscript, but one, like a graphic or a scheme or something. And that becomes something that's shareable. So you can share it on social media and that increases the visibility of your paper. That is one. Then data visualization also is a very, very interesting and upcoming topic, how you can present your data in different and very interactive ways. So pie chart, bar graph, all that is now very, I would say, old school. There are a lot of apps and tools in which you can, input your data and come up with very interactive and beautiful visualizations. So even a simple Google search, if you can just do, tools for data visualization, data viz as it's also called, it's a very, very fascinating topic. And again, it's something that can make your research stand out, because nobody wants to see, long tables and boring, histograms. We have now gone beyond all that. In fact, if there are those, MATLAB and R, if you are cued into those kind of software environments, you can do it yourself. Else, there are tools that can do. So, does that answer your question, Dr. Nawal? I hope so. Otherwise, you can ask Catherine to organize yet another webinar on data visualization. Again, it's a topic I really, really enjoy, and read up about it. It's quite interesting. So to begin with, at least maybe for every paper that you write, create a graphical abstract. Take it as an exercise. In fact, in some of my in-person workshops, I get the participants to do that, to create a graphical abstract based on a paper. So that's one way where you are able to understand your own paper also better. So I hope that helps. Okay, great. Any more questions or anything else? Please feel free to continue to type in your questions. We still have about 5 minutes. Okay. Please add something about writing the discussion of a paper. It means that what should be included in the discussion. Okay, excellent question. Because the discussion is such an important part of the paper, we tend to just repeat the results in that. So please don't do that. Your discussion is basically where you are trying to explain what do your findings mean. In the result section, you report. I found this, I found that, ABC. It's very, very cut and dry. But discussion then tries to tie in your work with previous studies. So you are going to interpret your findings, number one. Number two, you're going to compare and contrast your findings with other people's, other researchers' findings on that topic. Then you're going to talk about the strengths and limitations of your study. We all tend to skip the limitations part. Every study has a limitation. You have tried your best. You have done a wonderful study, but there will always be something that you could have done better. Maybe it's, you could have had a larger sample size, or, we have constraints. So you must acknowledge the limitations in the discussion section. This is something many people miss out. Another very important thing that people miss out is the implications and applications. So now you've interpreted your results. Your results mean something, but what does it mean in the long run? Can it be applied? Does it mean that some protocol can be changed? Does it have an implication that could change policy, or that could change, a treatment regimen, or a protocol that is used for pesticide application? So it's very important to put your study into context. What does it mean going forward? And then last but not the least, talk about what remains to be done in future studies. Path ahead. So discussion. Remember, you're going to interpret your findings, compare and contrast it, strengths and limitations, applications and implications, and future directions. Like, you should just maybe memorize this, and that conclusion section should bring it all together, so there's a sense of completion. Sometimes you come across papers, they just end so abruptly, or they just repeat the findings. Please don't do that. Again, don't repeat the methods also. This is where you are telling the story of what is the value or significance, the value add of your study. I hope that helps, Hamad. Okay, I think we're 5 minutes away from closing. Did that answer your question, Aman? Last 2-3 minutes. I'm still here. So, okay. See some raised hands, but I can't see any questions. So yes, sir, I'd like to thank all of you for your patience, and it was, for me, it was wonderful interacting with you. I really usually enjoy the question answer session the most. But feel free to reach out with any further questions, and stay in touch. And I really hope to meet you in a future webinar someday. Maybe in an in-person workshop. Those are my favorite kinds. So maybe we can request Catherine to work on that next. Right? So thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
That was thought-provoking talk. Thank you for impacting your knowledge. Once again, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, I'm so glad you reached out to me. This is something I really enjoy doing. So please
Important
do share
announcement.
the slides with them. Pardon?
An important announcement to the
I missed something.
participants. You will receive the webinar certificates within 7 to 10 working days, along with webinar PPT. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Should we end the session?